If a woman ignores you, most men make the same fatal mistake. They chase after her. But Machiavelli understood something that modern men have forgotten: how to turn her own game against her, so that she ends up chasing you. Real power is not earned by begging, but through calculated indifference. I'm going to show you why her silence is not accidental, but a deliberate strategy to measure your emotional strength. Because when you master these principles, you don't lose a woman, you turn her into your admirer. So give this video a like, and let's get into what really matters. Have you ever wondered why a woman who seemed interested suddenly ghosts you? Here's the raw truth you need to hear. That silence is no accident. It's a calculated test of your emotional resilience. She's testing how desperate you become when attention is withdrawn. Machiavelli wrote about the art of political warfare, but his principles apply perfectly to modern seduction. He knew that whoever controls the narrative controls the power. And when a woman ignores you, she's trying to write your story for you. The story of a man begging for her attention. But not all silences are the same, and this is where most men crash and burn. There are 3 specific types you must recognize, like a strategist reading the battlefield. 1. The test. Silence. She still watches your stories but doesn't reply to your messages. She sent you signs of interest, but now she plays hard to get. It's like a general letting the enemy make the first move. She wants to see if you'll chase her or hold your ground. 2. The processing silence. She disappears completely from social media, doesn't reply to anyone. Something happened in her personal life, and she needs mental space. This silence isn't about you. It's about her internal battles. 3. The rejection silence. Dry responses, constant excuses, complete coldness. She's already decided there's no future, but she's hoping you'll get the hint. It's her way of saying no without direct confrontation. Now the real question: how do you respond to each one of her tactics? The silence, the withdrawal, the sudden mood shift that comes with no explanation. Most men panic, they overanalyze, they chase, they think if they just say the right thing she'll come back around. But that's not how power works. Here comes the master move, the one that separates real men from desperate boys. You respond the same to all 3. No emotional scrambling, no decoding her cryptic behavior, no frantic attempts to fix a mood you didn't cause. You become a mirror. Nothing more, nothing less. If she takes 4 hours to reply, you take 4 hours or longer, not out of pettiness, but out of self-respect. If she cancels plans at the last minute, you don't argue. You simply make new ones for yourself with someone else or alone, but never in despair. If she turns cold, you don't chase warmth. You remain calm, composed, but distant. You let the silence breathe while you breathe deeper. Because here's the cold, beautiful truth. You cannot be manipulated if you refuse to play the emotional game. That's the Machiavellian way. You don't fight fire with fire. You remove the oxygen. You starve the drama of attention, and it dies quietly. This tactic works because it shifts the balance of power without needing a single word. You're not reacting, you're reflecting. You're not suppressing your emotions. You're channeling them into strategy. And the psychological effect is devastating. She expects pursuit. She expects weakness. She expects to win. But when all she finds is stillness, a man who doesn't flinch, her playbook starts falling apart. If this kind of content is opening your eyes to how real power dynamics operate behind modern attraction, like this video and subscribe, because what's coming next won't just teach you how to handle women. It'll teach you how to handle yourself. And that is where true power begins. The key is understanding this. Her silence is not an instruction, it's information. Every moment she withdraws, every unanswered message, every game of distance is a confession. She's showing you exactly who she is and how she navigates power. But here's where most men fail. They think noticing the pattern is enough. They assume that by simply mirroring her coldness, they're somehow winning. So they sit still, frozen, silent, hoping that their indifference will speak louder than hers. But this isn't strategy. It's stagnation. It's passivity wearing the mask of control. And this is where Machiavelli becomes a weapon, because he didn't preach idle waiting. He didn't glorify inaction. He taught that power is movement, that while your enemy hesitates, you evolve. While they play games, you play the long game. When she withdraws into her silence, you don't crumble. You build, you don't wait by the phone. You reshape yourself. While she's busy seeing if you'll break, you're in the gym breaking limits. While she posts bait for attention, you invest your time into mastery. While she calculates control, you multiply your options. This isn't about reacting, it's about transforming reaction into creation. Because here's the Machiavellian brilliance. When someone withholds love to control you, they expect weakness. But when that silence becomes the backdrop to your glow-up, suddenly the tactic backfires. Her test becomes your transformation. Her emotional game becomes your psychological fuel. This is the power of calculated indifference, not fake detachment, but the kind of stillness that hides relentless progress. So next time she pulls away, don't just match her silence, outgrow it, outpace it. Let your evolution answer louder than any text ever could. While she plays games with your mind, you're out with your friends, building a strong, fulfilling social life. Do you see the pattern? Every hour she invests in trying to manipulate you is an hour you invest in becoming more valuable. It's not just a passive reaction. It's a calculated move, a power reversal, a psychological game she never expected you to play and win. The law of energy transfer. She loses energy, and you multiply yours. She spirals in control, fantasies, while you spiral upward into discipline, vision, momentum. This is what most men miss. They try to win her back, not realizing the real victory is becoming someone she can no longer play. But here comes the most powerful psychological twist. When you start posting pictures of the gym, your business projects, your nights out laughing with real friends, something shifts in her nervous system. She begins to feel loss, not power. She begins to see that her silence didn't destroy you. It launched you. It triggered your masculine drive. It forced you to look inward and upward. And that scares her, because now you're not reacting to her. You're evolving without her. And this triggers what psychologists call loss aversion. Her brain starts calculating, wait, this man was supposed to chase me, to beg, to prove I mattered, but he's doing better without me. He's glowing up. He's harder to reach now. What if I pushed him right into the arms of someone better? The trap she set backfires. She thought the silence would bring you crawling. Instead, it activated your potential. She assumed your worth depended on her attention. But now she's seeing the truth. Your growth never needed her applause, and that realization hits harder than any response you could have given. Real indifference is not passive, it's focused. Here's the secret. You're not pretending not to care. You genuinely have more important things to do. You have ambitions to chase, standards to raise, peace to protect. She's not the center of your universe anymore. She's a chapter, not the whole book. I've seen this work time and time again. I have a friend who, when a woman gave him the silent treatment, didn't argue, didn't analyze, didn't ask what's wrong. He responded with life. He signed up for cooking classes, launched a side business, trained with a coach, and got into the best shape of his life. And 3 weeks later, she reappeared. A long paragraph. Explanations, excuses, guilt wrapped in charm. Hey, sorry I've been distant. Things got crazy. Would love to catch up. She bet on his collapse, but instead she watched him rise, and that changed everything. Because now the question in her mind isn't, does he still want me? It's, would he even choose me now? That's how power flips. Growth is the ultimate countermove. Real confidence doesn't come from pretending you're unaffected. It comes from building a life so solid that her games feel irrelevant. While she checks your story for hints of weakness, you're in the arena doing reps, sealing deals, designing legacy. While she debates texting you, you're booking flights. While she wonders if you're sad, you're smiling, sweating, achieving, and now her silence loses power. Your silence becomes louder than hers. That's the irony. She used distance to gain control, but your self-respect makes her irrelevant. And this is where most men make the fatal mistake. They build momentum, they grow, they become magnetic, but the moment she returns with a breadcrumb of attention, they collapse. They become who they were before the glow-up. Instantly. Don't let the return be your regression. Imagine this. 3 weeks of transformation. You've been disciplined, focused, detached. Then suddenly she texts, "Hey, stranger," and your heart races. You smile. You forget. That's where you lose, because she's not just testing your interest. She's testing your integrity. Was the new you real, or was it just performance to get her back? The test of the return. She's not just reaching out, she's evaluating. Is this man truly changed, or is he still my puppet? If you drop everything for her again, you teach her that your value was conditional, that your strength was fake. But if you keep your pace, if you stay in your rhythm, you show her something rare: consistency. The man you became in her absence is the same man she finds upon return. That's when she feels true loss, because she knows she doesn't control the story anymore. From ghosted to humbled women don't regret leaving weak men, they regret underestimating strong ones. When your life upgrades without her, she starts to feel behind. She went quiet, hoping to gain power, but now your silence speaks louder. You're not ignoring her to play games. You're just too immersed in purpose to be distracted. Purpose is the loudest attraction. Signal. A man on mission doesn't need to explain himself. His energy says it all. His absence teaches more than his words ever could. She sees the shift, the glow in your eyes, the drive in your step, the weight you've dropped physically, emotionally, spiritually, and she starts to wonder, was I just a catalyst? Did I lose him to his own evolution? That's not revenge, that's power. You didn't destroy her, you simply stopped orbiting around her, and the gravity she once used to control you now pulls her in. She returns, but the game has changed. This time she's not holding the cards. She's seeking entry into a life that no longer revolves around her. Now you get to choose, not from need, but from clarity, because you no longer chase connection out of loneliness. You allow it when it aligns with the empire you're building, and that is when your growth becomes her wake-up call. But be careful, because when she returns, and she will if there was genuine interest, that's when the hardest test begins. Most men fail right at that critical moment. Do you know why men lose just when they're about to win? Because when she finally returns after the silence, they act like nothing happened. It's as if all their personal growth vanishes the moment they receive that message. Picture it. You've spent 3 weeks applying calculated indifference, building your value, standing firm. Suddenly, she pops up with a casual, "Hey, how have you been?" as if it's the most natural thing in the world. And this is where 90% of men make the fatal mistake. They respond immediately with excitement, slip back into old patterns, and hand over all the power they had regained. This is what I call the return test. And it's more dangerous than the silence itself, because now she's not just reaching out. She's evaluating whether your strength was real or just a temporary performance. If you come running back like a hungry dog, you confirm that her original strategy worked, and that she can use it again whenever she wants. Machiavelli understood this deeply. Temporary victories mean nothing if you can't hold the position you've gained. True power is measured by your ability to stay in control once you have it, not just by reaching it. So how do you pass this ultimate test? You maintain exactly the same energy and priorities that made her return in the first place. If you used to take 4 hours to reply, still take 4 hours. If you had routines and commitments you didn't cancel for her, don't cancel them. Now here's where most men get confused. They think you're playing games. But this is not a game. It's consistency. It's about maintaining the standards you developed when you were alone. It's proof that your personal growth didn't rely on her validation. I remember a friend who handled this brilliantly. After 2 weeks of silence, she messaged him, apologizing and suggesting they meet. He didn't jump with excitement. He responded with the same calm energy he had maintained. He told her he'd have to check his schedule and get back to her. She, expecting to regain control immediately, realized he had genuinely changed. The result? She started trying harder to reconnect, suggesting plans, showing real interest. The power had completely shifted because he didn't fold at the critical moment. But here comes the most important distinction. This isn't about manipulation or revenge. It's about maintaining the self-respect you developed during her absence. If you fold now, you're teaching her that your personal growth was conditional on her attention. The right woman will respect this consistency and feel drawn to your emotional strength. The wrong woman will get frustrated that she can't manipulate you easily and will likely walk away. In both cases, you win. At this point, you've got the fundamental tools. Recognize the types of silence, apply calculated indifference, build personal value, and pass the test of her return. But there's one extreme situation where all these rules completely change. What do you do when silence isn't a test, but a form of psychological torture? When she uses intermittent silence as a weapon to keep you hooked in a cycle of hope and despair, this is where you need the most radical strategy of all. There are women who've mastered the art of emotional manipulation. They ignore you for days, return with crumbs of attention, then vanish again. It's like a psychological casino. You're always waiting for the next prize, but the jackpot never comes. Machiavelli knew that some enemies cannot be neutralized with diplomacy or defensive strategies. Sometimes the only way to win is to completely retreat from the battlefield. Not because you're weak, but because you recognize that some conflicts have no solution. How do you know you've reached that point? It's been 2 weeks or more without a direct response, but she remains active on social media, deliberately ignoring you. She has a repeated pattern of silent treatment. This isn't the first time she's done this to you. She's using mutual friends to find out whether you're asking about her, feeding her sense of control. When these 3 signs combine, you're no longer dealing with a woman testing your value. You're dealing with someone who enjoys psychological control and uses your interest as fuel for her ego. This is where the nuclear option comes in. Complete and permanent withdrawal. No more mirrors, no more waiting, no more building value, hoping she'll notice. You cut all ties like she never existed. That means deleting her from social media, not asking mutual friends about her, avoiding places where you know she'll be. It's more radical than calculated indifference, because you're not expecting any reaction. You erase her from your reality. Why does this strategy work? Because manipulators need to know they have power over you. Their satisfaction comes from knowing they can move you emotionally at will. When you disappear completely, they lose that validation. I've seen cases where after applying the nuclear option, the woman goes into total panic. She starts asking mutual contacts what happened to him. She tries indirect ways to reach out, may even look for you physically, but by that point it's already too late. You've seen who she really is. The difference between a strong man and a wise man is this. The strong man resists manipulation. The wise man recognizes it early and never lets it begin. This isn't about winning the game, it's about realizing when the game is not worth playing. Here's the final truth most men don't want to accept. Some women aren't looking for a real relationship, they're looking for emotional entertainment. And when you realize you're the entertainment, not the main character, the only winning move is to cancel the show. In the end, it all comes back to this Machiavellian wisdom. Your time and emotional energy are finite resources. Spending them on someone who uses them for power games isn't strategy. It's self-destruction disguised as persistence. But the reward for applying these principles correctly goes far beyond any one woman. Her silence was never about you. It was about her. It revealed her character, not your worth. When you master these Machiavellian principles, you don't just filter out manipulators. You attract women who value real communication over power games. You don't lose a partner. You free yourself from a problem and open the door to authentic relationships. Become the man who is too valuable to chase, but too interesting to ignore. If this content helped you, subscribe and leave a piece of advice in the comments that could help other men facing the same battles.